Say don't trust the government. It's okay, man. I wasn't gonna do that anyway.
Hello and welcome to another bad movie review. This time we are looking at Catnado. This is a 2022 film. It's about an hour and 28 minutes and it has a lot of directors involved. As you might guess, this is an anthology and not a regular fun film. So it's a bit of a catastrophe. Yeah, I said it. So with a massive amount of directors, you're getting vastly different experiences here, ranging from laughably bad YouTube style videos with no budget to ones with actual budget and a little effort. We opened with a woman narrating in front of a door, and if that doesn't tell you where you're going with this, I really can't give you any more clues. So we start off with crimes and felines. There's a woman that leaves her boyfriend for her ex, named Kent, who was just released from jail. There's a reference to Sharks of the Corn, which is fun. They plan on ripping someone off who supposedly has a mattress full of money. So a bit of a generic plot line there. When they're about to break into the house, the air raid sirens go off and a Catnado appears. So you're just assumed to understand that there's Catnados going on. They never explain where the Catnados are coming from. Not really. And you just sort of are thrown in the middle of that. The special effects on this one were okay. There's a John Hurt moment for all of you Alien fans out there. Overall, this one was okay. It had some potential to be a longer story, but by and large, it wasn't the worst I've ever seen. The second story of Cats and Men, a biker in his sleeveless Canadian tuxedo is out on a beer run when a cat splatters on his windshield, which of course causes a car accident. There's some pretty good effects here from inside of the Catnado and the cat's eye view. That's all done fairly well. Then we find out there's some interpersonal drama between the people that were all involved in this, and we learn that there is a secret behind the biker guy and what's going on. It's all very convoluted and it would kind of spoil it to give much more away, so I'm trying to avoid that. But this was probably the one that had the most plot, and it really doesn't involve the cats as much as some of the others. But there was some really good acting in here. I thought the gentleman that played the biker did a really good job. There's some pretty good fight choreography here as well. A little bit of a rough transition between a couple of parts, but overall probably one of the better shot sequences in here. So this was probably the highlight of the film. Then we have a segment called Storm Window. There's a man reading a Bible who finds talking cats have made it into his storm shelter. The cats annoy him with incredibly bad accents. This was just a total waste of my life. I regret seeing it, and weirdly it's not even the worst segment in this film. It was just a bizarre sequence that if it had had more time and budget, probably could have been an interesting movie about a guy who is like going crazy, very Jacob's Ladder or In the Mouth of Madness, where he's hearing cats talk to him and insult him in intentionally bad accents. That could have been a real interesting storyline, but it kind of got destroyed here with some amateur work. Now, I don't think the acting was the worst ever, just the accents were really bad, and it really looked like this was rushed. In Apocalypse Meow, in 2021, the pussy plague is killing cats. A vaccine was created, but of course that doesn't work out. There's a guy named Oliver who has a fear of cats. Then we learned the vaccine is somehow causing the Catnado. Like I said, it's never really explained. It's sort of alluded to here, but they didn't do a very good job explaining how those things are connected. Then we meet this guy Jeremy, whose cat McGeorge was vaccinated. Oh no! So it goes crazy. Then a stuffed cat attacks Oliver, and the stuffed cat looks nothing like McGeorge. Like, you couldn't get something that looks vaguely similar to your cat. That's just lazy. I mean, this was what I'm talking about, this segment here, when I said looks like a YouTube video. This really looked like a YouTube sketch that somehow made its way into a DVD release. It made ring shark shark. Looked like high budget production. They end up killing some random person. And this one had a terrible ending, pretty bad acting. It was a little unclear if these guys were roommates or a couple or what. There's sort of an illusion that they might be a couple. I don't know. I don't really care. The character development was very poorly executed. Their acting was pretty low grade B quality, but it really looked like it was all slapdash thrown together in a very big hurry. And the stuffed animal thing was really obvious. It wasn't funny. It was just kind of sad looking. So I really hated this one. Then there's Cat Burglar. And this segment has lots of missing cats, possibly catnapped by a guy in a fur coat and a cat mask. Oh boy, that's riveting. There is a funny line about not trusting the government, and the guy that played the crazy homeless guy was pretty funny. Overall, this one was just okay. Had some really weird stuff going on, but definitely not the worst segment, and probably could have been a good horror film if it had more budget and more time to elaborate on what's going on with this cat burglar. Somebody in a cat mask running around killing local cats could make for a pretty interesting horror movie. There's also Nightmare at 10,000 feet. So two pilots end up in a small plane in a Catnado as cats attack the plane. There is sort of a gremlin cat. It's very much a take on the Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner, where there's the monster on the wing of the plane, the gremlin tearing stuff up. But the gremlin cat is a leftover of the Catnado, and it was an interesting one, but it's a little too close to the Twilight Zone episode. It had its moments, but it was largely a pointless sequence because it was too closely related to the Twilight Zone one. So it didn't really do it for me, but it did have its moments, and it was probably the second best one in this film. So far, of Cats and Men and the Cat Burglar were absolutely the best too. But then they saved one for the after credits scene, which is Cosmic Catnado. I don't know what this was, but it looked like something that you would have seen people throw together as a short film in the days before the internet, trying to get on to like America's Funniest Home Videos. It was a really, really weird sketch that I don't know what it was, but it looks like it might have been made by serial killers. It's a post-credits sequence too, which is kind of common with some of these films, and I think that it was put there to kind of hide it and pad the runtime at the same time because it's very, very odd. I don't think most of the cast read the script, and it involves aliens, and I don't really know what was happening beyond that. It was so nonsensical. It looked like most of it was improvised. It was just really, really weird and not real good. So all in all, there were only two segments that I really liked in here at all, which was, of course, Nightmare at 10,000 feet being pretty solid, but kind of a knockoff. The Cat Burglar was pretty good idea that has potential to be a better movie as a standalone horror film and nothing to do with Catnados. There's arguably a good premise here for a slasher who kills cats and dresses like somebody in a creepy cat mask that's hunted by these cops and a homeless dude. That one had a lot of potential. Of Cats and Men had a really good story idea with the setting of the Catnado as sort of window dressing for a different theme of people trying to reconcile an atrocity that happened. So overall, I think there were some good efforts here, but it's just a weak film because not only because it's an anthology, but because there's so much difference in quality between the different segments. I can't bring myself to recommend this. And the only director whose name I recognized was Donald Farmer. Otherwise, Curtis Everitt, Alaine Huntington, Blair Kelly, James Myers, Melvin Pittman, Tim Ritter, Jerry Williams, and Logan Winton. I didn't know most of them. Tim Ritter, we've covered a movie that he produced, which was Housebound, which, you could go check out that review. But it looks like they did the best they had to work with almost no budgets. Allegedly, according to IMDb, this budget was about $100,000, and I don't see it for most of these segments. There's a few of them that are really well shot, but you can tell that they're done by the more experienced directors and cinematographers. And unfortunately, most of the cast are unknowns, and some of the acting wasn't bad, but it just really fell apart in most of the segments. So I'm not going to recommend this unless you like really weird stuff with a hint of boring mixed in, because some of these were just awful. Others were okay and 2 were actually good. But whenever you saw the actual Catnado, that looked cool. It's too bad that kind of quality didn't consistently flow through the movie, and the Catnado itself was rarely even a major part of the story. So it was more of a transition between scenes, and I was expecting something other than an anthology, so maybe part of that's on me. I think Catnado 2, if they ever make one, should be a standalone film with one plot line and a lot more actual Catnado. Maybe a knockoff of Twister would be in order, where some veterinarians are trying to stop the Catnado. I don't know. That would have been better, but there was just too much inconsistencies here for me to recommend this. It just wasn't the refined cheese that I seek out. So unfortunately, too much weakness here for me to recommend it. But there is some potential with some of the people involved and some of the directors. I didn't see any plot points, but I did see a body count of about 5, and that was in between fending off sleep, so hopefully I didn't miss any. So that's what you can expect with this. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the review, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.